Hello guys, welcome back. Let's do the hand stuff and the physical pushing thing. And as you can tell, it's gonna be something with the finger. Like I'm gonna do the pushing with the finger. So if we switch into the mannequin folder, we have a animation here, which looks like a fist or a open or a can grab, and then there's a blend space, which basically moves between these. And I can't figure out how to get this to animate. I could in the old version, you could just move your hand around. I forget how to do it. At least I had it working, and then I forgot. What did I do? Oh, shift. Hold down shift and then just. You just need to hold down shift and then move your mouse back and forth. There you know. So the way they did it in the VR template is that it's using I think it's an enum or something. Let's have a look at that. In the grip enum here, can open, can grab, and grab. So this enum here actually represents a few integers behind the scene. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So that's the way they are kind of hijacking that just internal representation of an enum. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. But you can see the values down here say 0, half, and 0.1, 0.5, and 1. So if you look at it inside the animation blueprint, you will see that it says grip state converted to an integer and then converted into a float and divided by 2. That makes it go to 1 for the last grip state. So that's how that is working, just as a little side note. We're gonna hijack this or bypass it, and you should totally do something a little bit different. I would say, if you want to elaborate this a little bit more than just a pointing finger, but I'm just gonna do this in the sort of fastest way I can think of right now, and that is to just make a branch here and say, is this a pointy finger? So I'm gonna add in a pointy finger something. Where did it go? Where did it go? All these folders. Grip enum. So I'm just gonna add one called pointing to the grip enum. So this is the one that came with the template. So we're gonna say grip state is this equal to pointing, and if it is, actually if it's not, then we will do the regular stuff. So if it is, we are not going to touch this grip value here at all, because we are going to do something custom, kind of. So inside the animation graph, we are going to grab this stuff here and just cut it out and replace with this quick, very, very simple state machine. So let's go into this and make a new state, call this default, and then plug this stuff in here instead. So this is what is going to happen per default. So if we are pointing, we're going to have a different state. We're going to call this pointing, and we're going to be able to go back again. So the criteria for going to the pointing state is going to be if this grip state is equal to pointing. And for going back, if it's not equal to pointing, then it can go back again. So that's just state switching back and forth. I'm also going to say the duration, the transition duration, I'm going to set it to a little bit slower, so it just seems a little bit nicer, not completely snapping. Just say 0.3, that's going to be fine. So we need an animation for the pointing finger, and let's see, I made one which I'm gonna post a link to in the description, but you can easily do this yourself in Blender, 3D Max, Maya, Motion Builder, whatever you can come up with. It's fairly easy to just export the mesh itself, just repose it how you want it to be, and then import it again. I have done several videos showing how to do this, so I'm just not going to do that. So we're just going to import models, characters, I think, beforehand, animation, 0.2, and select the right hand skeleton and import. So this is how the hand looks when it's pointing. It's just the way I post the hand. And for some reason I imported with 30 frames. It's totally not needed, so I could actually cut this down every row from frame 1 to yeah, just needs to have 1 frame basically. Anyway, that was kind of unnecessary, but anyway, play 0.2 and connect that in here. So now we have a way of switching back and forth between pointing and the regular stuff. We need a way of also detecting when to switch, because now we just know that we can switch. So we need to go into the motion controller, I believe it is. Where's the motion controller? Here it is. And find the event graph. I'm pretty sure we have some stuff going on here. Yeah. So this is the event tick template stuff that came with the VR template. And it says if we have something attached to our hand, we're holding something basically, then we should set the state to grab. And if we don't, but there's something near our hand, we should set it to can't grab. And if we want to grab, it's set then grab and open. Yeah, blah blah. So if we want to grip off this stuff here, if attached to get new hands. Let me just check something. Right. Can't grab. It's this one. Sorry, I just mixed things up. So of course, if we're not holding anything, but we have something near our hand, then instead of just always going to can grab, we are gonna say, is this something near our hand? Does that have a, is this a specific actor? And we're gonna use a tag for that. I'm pretty sure there are way better ways of doing it, but again, you can do whatever you want with this part here, but I'm just going to use a tag for it. So since we're going to make a button, we're going to have a collision body to say when should we switch to this. So right now we don't have that collision body, and this is also just a returnable slider. So it's basically just something that can return, and so we're going to create a placeable. I think we're going to put it, because this is something that you can put in your level of the physical return slider. So we're going to create a child blueprint here. So I realize I'm jumping it back and forth a little bit, but we're going to call this the physical button. This is kind of the way I work anyway. I jump back and forth quite a bit. So under the placeables, we now have a physical button. So I'm going to replace this one physical button. Can I? Nah. Okay. Anyway, this is the physical return slider, and here is the physical button. Was it this way? Jesus Christ. What happened with this one? I think my design time broke for the regular slider. Okay, something I have to look into later. For now, let's just assume it's working. Did need to check first if this is still working. Yeah, okay, so it is working and it's facing the right way. Cool, great. So we want to make some expansions to this one. We're going to make two things. We're going to make a cube collision, or it's called a box collision, which is going to be we're going to call button collision, finger collision, whatever, something. Come up with a better name. And then I'm just gonna scale this down to 0.1, I think, in this case. 0.15? I don't know. Something that works, kind of encompasses the movement range of this. 0.5, like this. And I don't know how tall it's gonna be. I suppose something like this. The idea is that your finger is going to come from this point here. It's going to come like touch this area, and once it touches that area, it's going to turn into a finger, or your hand is going to come from it. So let me just check if that is pretty much how I set it up. I just want to make sure. Yeah, looks correct. Okay, cool. So that is one thing. We don't want this to be attached to the static mesh because that's going to move. So this is going to be stationary. So I mentioned something about the tag. So I could check the name or check that this is exactly this button collision or something. I'm just going to use the tag, and I'm going to call this finger point to point to. So once something has a tag called point to, I'm gonna switch the where did it go? The motion controller to a point to. So if we go back in here, we get inside the motion controller, we have the nearest mesh. We can check has component tag. Get okay. Actor has tag. Okay, so okay, it's a this is a right. It's on the actor. We can do this because obviously this get actor on your hand. I should not put it on the component itself. Get rid of that again. Sorry about that. Mixed it up. Terribly sorry. BP physical button up here. This is the actor. Find the tag section. Can never find it. Oops. Point to. There we go. So now this button, physical button, has the tag point to. Okay, so that collision thing is going to come in handy in a moment, I believe, because we're going to use that for something else. Let's go back into the motion controller. Here it is. So if this has this point to tag. I'm gonna make a branch here. Then we are gonna set pointy finger, and otherwise we're gonna set grab to pointing, like that. So now we should see the animation start to work. Yeah. And here's the thing, you can't really tell, but the way I'm holding the controller, in order to get good position, I kind of have to do like this. So I'm also gonna alter the rotation of the bone, I think, slightly. So how much time did I spend on this? 15 minutes. Okay, great. Right hand animation BP, pointing state here. So we are inside the state machine. So inside the state pointing, we're gonna apply a transform modify bone, and convert that local to component and component to local. There we go. Yeah. If you do a lot of these transforms, you don't normally want to have them inside your state machine if you can avoid it somehow. I don't really know how to do it otherwise though in this case here. But because the conversions from local to component and component to local, I think they're fairly expensive. Anyway, just a little note. We don't want to do anything with the translation. We do want to do something with the rotation. So I'm gonna say replace existing. And we don't want to see the scale either. So we need to pick a bone to modify to begin with. So that's going to be the hand rotation, hand right, the root bone. And this is going to happen in bone space. And by bone space, if you switch to the skeleton and you select the root bone, so this is hand area. I don't know if you can see that. Just get this back a little bit. So you see the local axis or the bone axis is shown here. So that's the red. This is the X axis, the Y axis, and the Z axis. So this is the way it's rotated. So in order to figure out which axis do I want to rotate about, then I can see this is the X axis. So in this case, it needs to be this one. So I don't know how much. I'm just going to go 20 degrees to one side here. And it's still bitching about something. It says you must pick no component, modify either something other than. Maybe I just need to compile. Okay, great. So let's try that out again. Whoops. That was totally unexpected. Component space, I was gonna switch this to bone space. I did it on the translation for some reason. There we go. It should be on the rotation. That felt really weird. Okay, so now it's if my tracking would be okay. So you can see nothing is happening with the button yet. It's not being pushed down. We haven't done that part of the logic yet. So that's what we're going to do next. We are going to add a finger collision thingy. I have too many windows open. I just realized. Gotta close some stuff I don't need. Okay, and then I need to go out and save everything because it's been a while since I saved. Good. Inside the motion controller, we should add a collision body. So sphere collision. I'm going to call this finger sphere, which I'm going to parent under the hand mesh itself. So I'm also going to parent this finger sphere to a socket, more specifically in the index 3 socket. And then I'm going to set the sphere radius all the way down to 1.5. So it's going to be fairly small. It's going to be hard to see here, but it's somewhere in there. Maybe even smaller, but we'll figure it out. So for now, I'm just going to take this big arrow here because I need to position my finger sphere, which is going to act as the collision body for the button. I'm just going to place that carefully at the tip of my finger, so it sort of something like this, maybe. Yeah, you know, I can make this even smaller, I think. Maybe I should do, actually let me do something else. I didn't do this, but let me do a capsule collision. I think that is more correct. Finger collision. Let's do it again. Drop it onto the mesh and set the index finger like this. And we need to set this very, very small, like 1.2 and 1.5 maybe. Maybe even smaller, 1. Yes. Come on. Okay, so you get the point. So now we have a collision on the finger like that. I guess there are other ways to do this also, but this is going to be fine. So I'm just going to take this arrow here and put the location back so it's where it was. And we also need to do a little bit with the collision, because right now it's set to overlap all dynamic, and I'm going to change this to custom and change the object type to be hand, because I know things, I use the hand to collide with physical objects, so this is going to be a good object type to work out from. Also, I should I want to detect the overlaps, so this I think is all right. Yeah. Let me just check. Oh, and we're going to get back to it. I'm going to introduce another tag, I suppose. I think that is necessary, yes. Okay, anyway. So we do have, what we have now is a collision body, the finger collision, or with a hand preset on it that we can start to work with. So if we go back to our placeables, where we have the button, the physical button, we can start to implement an actual button, because that is basically what we wanted to do, at least what I wanted to do. So two things, or one thing to begin with. We don't, button you don't want to be able to grab. So the easiest way to just avoid this button to be grabbed is to just override the pickup and drop events, because it's a mover. All this is based off a mover which is grabbable or pick upable. So pick up, we're going to add this event here, and we're going to add the event drop. So these two events, you can see they come from the iPickUpActor interface. We're just going to implement them here, and I'm going to pick iPickUp and drop will be based off. So just so that I know when I think collision, when I wonder at some later stage, why do I have these? Well, it's because the pickup and drop will be based off collision instead. So it's kind of good to have here. So let's make a little bit more space. Begin play, I guess it's okay to have that. Do I need that? You know what? I don't think I use it in this case here. I'm just gonna get rid of it for now. But we do definitely need a way of detecting when we should start to do something based off collision, which is basically an overlap. So we made this button collision. If I just zoom in, this tiny collision body here. So that collision body, I just need to check something. Yeah, that collision body should not do anything other than react to a hand. So I actually need to make sure that I change this to a custom. We can leave it as well dynamic because that's what the hand is going to react to. But we're going to set everything to ignore except the hand. And you might as well get used to doing these things here to work a lot with the custom collision channels. And I'm sorry, they're working outside and making a lot of noise. But anyway, so make sure that this button collision is only reacting to the hand. And on top of only reacting to the hand, it also needs to have a specific tag. So that specific tag is going to be the finger collision. So if we go back again, because the hand mesh itself is also having the hand collision object type. So you could also invent a new hand finger object type. That's totally also doable, but I want to just save on the use of collision object types, so I don't have too many of them. That is also totally doable. So I'm just going to reuse the hand. That was a lot of words for something very simple. Sorry about that. Button collision. We're gonna do begin overlap here, and we're gonna do end overlap, and then we're gonna check if this other component has a tag. Component has tag like this, and that tag we're gonna invent in here. We're gonna call this finger collision. I think I called it. Yeah, that's a good name for it. And again, you can just do another object type and then skip this part here. Like that. And we want to make a branch here. So we only want to do any of this stuff here if the thing that we are overlapping with is a finger collision. Okay, so let's see, how do we do this? Oh, by the way, while I'm at it, let me find on my project, in my project folder in the root, I have a text file called tags. I tend to use tags quite often, so what I did was to make this file here and keep track of what each tag does and where I use them, because otherwise I forget what this tag does and in which context and so on. So I would write something like an actor, and I have something like point to, and we'll write used to set on. I already forgot what it was I used it for. I think it was it the button collision? No, wait, it was the button here, this one. Used to set on buttons, maybe, for example, buttons, to tell NMVP to switch to a pointy finger. And then I'm also adding this component called finger, used to set on the finger body, so I can tell if the overlap is happening with a finger or a hand. Well, something like that. But that way you always have this lookup file to fall back to if you can't remember what you did and why you did it. It's just a good habit of getting into, I think. Okay. Let's see. How do we do this? I did this already. It's just a little bit hard to figure out how to explain why I did it this way. So that's why I'm stalling a little bit. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. So the finger is going to come from this side here. You're going to push down from once it starts to overlap here, and then it's going to displace the button downwards. So in this case, I'm not going to use the collision body that I made. It's an overlap body. I'm not going to use this for pushing the button. Actually, I'm going to simulate a grab, so that means it's going to follow the finger up and down. That actually means you're pulling the button up and down, but since once I pass a certain the maximum, I'm just going to release it like we did before with the drop. So that's the way it's going to work. So in order to track the position of this, we're going to have a starting point, which is going to be the top of the button here. So we need just some kind of transform. I'm just going to use a scene here, which I'm going to call the contact point. And the contact point is going to be the top of the button here. So I'm just going to see if I can place that fairly close to the surface of the button itself. Or yeah, well, the button collision should also be like something like this. So that means that once we get in contact with the finger gets in contact with the button or the button collision box, then we save this point here. So we get the contact point. I want to save this world location, and we'll dump that into a variable we are going to call the overlap location. And the reason for for this is that we need a way now to displace the button, but in local space, and track the value in local space. But the contact point is obviously going to be in world location, so we're going to have to do a few conversions from local to world. Right, so we're also going to want to do the return logic here. So we're going to do the same stuff like we did down here. So we're going to drag this to the other component. And the thing is, once we stop overlapping this, we basically just want our button to return. So that's going to be fairly easy. If you remember, we did the logic already. We put it in the physical return slider thingy. So we can just call on return begin event. On call function, this one, on return begin, which is all the way on the BP mover. So if we click that just briefly, it raises the begin return. It sets now we're returning, and then the logic we implemented in the last video, in the return physical slider here, is going to trigger. So it's going to run now. It should return, is returning, and it's going to start setting return back and eventually raise the return begin event. So that is what we need to have here. We also need to implement some stuff on event tick, but we only want to do anything on event tick if we do have an overlap. So we need a variable to track that. So we're going to invent a variable called finger overlapping. True if the finger, the button collision. Gonna set that to true and set that to false. And I am already beforehand, I know I spent a lot of time on this and we're not done yet. I don't want to break this up into 2 videos. I could do that, but I couldn't figure out how to break it up. So I actually had to record this video twice and it didn't really make sense to break it up any further. So I'm terribly sorry. It is a bit longer than normal. So off the event tick here, we're going to drag off or make a branch here and check if the finger is overlapping at all. Because if it's not overlapping, we don't want to do anything. What we want to do is to set the slider position because then we're going to drive the position of this. And as I said, this is going to happen in local space. So we're going to have to transform the location into a local space by getting this button's transform first. And we're going to invert the location of the finger, because we need to track where the finger is relative. You know, we touch the button and we need to track where the button is. So we actually need one more component, which I forgot up here. Once we get an overlap, we need a reference. We need to save a reference to the actor or the component that is overlapping with us. So we're gonna do like something like this and say set or promote a variable and call this finger collision. So we're saving a reference to our finger collision here because we need that down here. So finger collision, drag that out, get the world location. And then invert transform location. And this is going to give it the location in local space relative to the button itself, and then we're gonna subtract the same position from the what do you call it, the contact point, the overlap location. So this overlap location is where and we might have a problem because the button can't technically move, so the overlap location can't technically move. This is a thing I just realized. It's something I probably need to return to. If the button is on a pickup object that we can move, or it's just moving in space, then this overlap location is going to be moving constantly. So it actually needs to be it actually needs to be this one, and that means that we don't need that variable at all. Let's just skip this part. Sorry about that. I'm just coming up with this as I go. Let's get rid of this one. Overlap location, we don't need. We're gonna use, why did it? Oh, here it is. So get rid of that. Yes, I want to get rid of that, and I want to use this one instead. So the mover is moving, if you remember, all the way from the beginning when we started to make the mover stuff. It's moving in the local x-axis. So I can just split this open and use this as the slider value, because it's relative to the contact point. So set slider location from that and connect that up here. I think that's it. Let's give it a test. Here's the hand, here's the finger, and it is sort of working. I don't know if it's off a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit off. I could probably do something with the location of the finger because it's kind of sticking a little bit through. The thing is, if you come in from the side, it's gonna jump to that position. It's for now, for me, it's okay because right now this button is way, you know, it's like way too big, or the movement range of this. So normally with the button, I would probably have a limit of maybe 2 or something. So something like this. And if you come at it from the side, it won't look that weird anyway. So I guess this technically could work as it is. And we could totally build a keyboard out of this logic here. Sorry. One thing we should add, since I'm already way over time of what I normally do, was to add a sound to this. So if we implement mover at max, mover at max, and this one here, this is gonna get fired anyway. So I think we have some stuff on mover at max somewhere else. Yeah, this one. The physical return slider needs to do whatever it needs to do. So I need to call the parent here. Technically, I usually need to call this. I should always call these. But let's add in an audio. What do I call this button? Click audio. I don't have a good click sound other than the ones I already used. So we're just gonna use those again. One of those again. So I just disable auto activate and play this, and you know, could make this configurable, but I'm not going to do that now. And then let's find click. There's a click sound. Yeah, it works pretty good. One little detail with this is that if we do something like this, you can actually get it to freak out. It doesn't look that bad right now, but trust me, it does go haywire if you do that. So that's something I'm not going to cover in this video, but it's something I eventually need to look into if I want this to work a little bit better. Yeah, but from here on you could add, for example, a text render to, well, why not? Why not do it just as a quick extra little thing? Physical button here, add a text render. Like this. So just leave the name. Eight, maybe. Let's just drag it out. Somewhere here. And we could expose a, yeah, let's do that. Let's expose a variable for the text. So on, I'm thinking construction script, probably a good idea. We just set the text render, set text equal to something, promote to a variable, which we're going to call text, super cool name. And this is a setting, public text on button. It's a setting. It's a settings settings. Button. So now I have a section here called text, and I can say this is maybe an A. Okay, it's turning the wrong way, but who cares? I'm just gonna spin it around like that. So now we can duplicate this one and make a B. And you know, you get the drift here. You make a quick keyboard this way, or you can make a keyboard placeable with these settings. Or can you? One annoying thing is you get this white ball when the default scene. So what I usually always do is replace it with a normal scene and then call it the scene root, because that way that white ball disappears. But child actor key 1 and use this BP button. physical button. I don't know what happened with the C key. Duplicate? Turns out the wrong way. Weird. Okay. So what happens if I just copy and paste? Doesn't? Okay, never mind. Yeah, let's do one more. And let's put it like here. And then we can child actor component. I'm missing a lot of stuff here. I wonder if this is a bug. I think it's a bug, but strange. Let's give this 2. I should have given it 2 to begin with. 2 and change the text. So I'm just gonna make a keyboard here, really. So there's nothing really fancy to this, except that as you can see, there's a bug here. I think I don't really know why else it does not show up. ASD. It should have been A. You know what? I'm gonna do A S D W. There we go. And this should be W, which should then be placed. Whoopsies. Somewhere here. Whoops. And you know, I'm not too worried about the placement right now. 2 and the D, the last one. Two D. Okay. So there is our cute little keyboard. I'm just gonna get rid of these. Let's try out our keyboard. just gonna get the other hand as well. Yeah, well, I definitely need a new sound for that, for the buttons, but it's working. It's fine. So it's totally doable to do a keyboard this way. I don't think I can come up with more stuff to add onto this at this time here. So it's almost 1 hour anyway. If you stayed along all the way to the end here, good for you. Really impressive, I would say. And I would say maybe I will take a break because I need to investigate some new stuff to do. I wanted to do some slotting mechanic where you can put things in and work with some hover mechanics as well, but I don't have the things ready, and I'm definitely not satisfied with what I got currently. So I will not do videos on that yet, but it's on my to-do list. It's something I will eventually get back to, I think, granted that I come up with a good solution. Right. Because with these things, I believe you can build almost... Oh, why did this disappear? I believe you can build quite a lot of stuff once you have the rotators, the slider, which is not now broken, the button mechanic, and also we don't have a drop down or fly out menu yet. That could be a topic for something else later on. I should maybe also talk about how to make the menu thing, but there's so many things to do and so little time available. So let me know what you guys think I should focus on, or what you would like to see me cover, and I'll see if I can make it fit in somehow with my other work I do. But yeah, I hope you find this useful. At least I thought it was really interesting to build. So I think that's it for this series, at least for now. So leave a comment in the description if you have questions. Otherwise, I will be seeing you. Bye bye.